I'm here with Tim Coates, and this portal's conversation is about organizing your life around the art of increasing joy, meaning, and belonging in daily living. Tim and I collaborated when he was a senior executive at his company. After he retired, Tim started publishing a blog at tim-coates.com. And Tim calls his blog Towards a Life Well Lived, Reflections on the Art of Increasing Joy, Meaning, and Belonging in Daily Living, which is the focus of our inquiry and conversation today. So let us discover and explore. Tim, it's great to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Aviv. It's great to be here.
So since this is going to be the focus of our inquiry, let me begin with a simple question. What fills you with energy and joy these days?
Well, but when I first retired 8 years ago, I was very worried about how my day would be filled. I mean, because when we're in our workaday life, we go from one thing to another, and we're lucky if we find time to eat or take care of personal needs. And all of a sudden, when one retires, there's the opportunity to rethink their life and to think about what's really important. And as I did that, I found that what's most important in life is connection and how we connect with life. Because after all, life isn't about us, we're about life. And so what I've been doing really since my retirement is connecting more deeply with others, connecting more deeply with nature, and indeed connecting more deeply with how I think or how I feel about spirit.
So we want to go deep on this idea of connecting more deeply. To get us into the space, you and I initially met when you were leading a large team at the company you're working in. And I don't know if you will agree with my characterization, but would it be fair in retrospect to say that you were a closet philosopher and a mystic flying under the cover of a corporate executive for many years, and that then after you retired, you allowed the mystic and the philosopher to come out?
Yes, I'm afraid that would be an accurate description, although those who do not read the mystics hear the word mystic and conjure up something that is quite strange when I think of a mystic as someone who pursues union with life. And that's what I've always pursued. When I was 6 years old, I must have been a very strange little kid, because I remember vividly at age 6, I was playing in the front lawn with my buddies, and all of a sudden it struck me, I am me. And, I kept rolling that over and over in my brain saying, I am me. What does that mean? And what is to come of me? Because, I grew up in a loving family and with very loving parents. And I thought, one day they will not be here and I will still be me. And how am I to move forward on that? And the thing that was strange about that is that thought never left. I rolled it around and around in my brain through my early childhood and into adolescence. And here as I approach my 8th decade of life, I find myself still rolling it around in my mind in terms of what does it mean to be alive, and how do we live that to the fullest?
Well, so let's go with the flow of the story. So this self-insight, self-awareness appears with you when at the age of 6, and what happens then? How is this inquiry evolving through your teenage years?
Well, I think it made me a bit serious. I remember when I was in 5th or 6th grade, walking up the stairs to our classroom and thinking to myself, Tim, you just have to lighten up. I mean, be more like the other kids. Don't be so serious, because I find myself, I guess I am a philosopher. And even today, I have to be careful with my friends to not launch into some, we were talking about, we have a group we call the Eclectic Society, where once a month we meet to discuss various topics. And a while back, our topic was truth. And so, leave it to me. I start bringing out Plato, the good, the true, and the beautiful. And my friends are going, oh, here comes a philosopher again. So one has to be careful not to overstep their bounds in this realm, I think.
So pursuing the story and the choices of living, how do you get into a professional corporate career and allow these philosophical pursuits to play in the background? Take me through some of the decisions in the early formative stages of your life.
Well, that's an excellent question. I'd like to pause and think about it, but what comes immediate to mind as I think about an answer to that question is the lessons I needed most in life, I wanted least. And I think that is probably a good introduction to that answer because, I'm a type A person. I don't know if people know what type A people are anymore, but it's someone who is highly driven. I'm used to setting a goal and accomplishing that goal. I think when I was 6 years old, too young to push a lawnmower, I was crocheting potholders and selling them up and down the street to make money. And by the time I was 9, I convinced my dad to let me borrow the lawnmower and cut people's grass. Can you imagine that now? A 9-year-old beating on your door, some kid this tall. Hello, mister, can I cut your lawn? But anyway, whether it was school, whether it was sport, whether it was a business, I've always had this mindset that you can accomplish anything you put your mind to. And it wasn't until some things happened in my life that where I learned that you can't control all the circumstances in your life. In fact, some of the most important circumstances of your life, you can't control. And so that leaves one with the challenge of, well, how is it that I'm going to live a joyful life when any number of things happen? I've lost my parents, I've lost my spouse, I've lost a child, my business has gone under. I mean, how do we find joy amidst these circumstances that are beyond our control? And I started to become more and more interested in that, so that I think that my stint in business was almost a learning lab where I had the opportunity of how do I connect with others in a way that helps them bring themselves to work, so that in effect they're working for themselves and not for me. And as I did that, I kind of watched what happened. Mm-hmm. So there's part philosopher in me and part we need to get the result here in me.
So in the professional career became a theater of A, achieving certain worldly goals that you set out for yourself, and B, a learning lab about yourself, about the world, and about how to get results in this world, and also preserve an inner dialogue about the meaning of it all.
I think so. And the thing that fascinates me most about the world and that I do blog about is, I think the most amazing word, one of the most amazing words in the English language is we. And if one is to think about, well, what does that mean? And they might say, well, I mean, that's a silly question. We is perhaps myself and you, Aviv, and it's you and one or more other people, and that's a we. And actually, that's not indeed correct. A we consists of certainly myself and another person, but there's a third entity involved in a we. It's the relationship. And my daughter got married up here. I'm in Northwest Wisconsin now at our lake home. And my daughter wanted to get married at our lake home. And she asked me if I would perform the service. And I was very honored to do that. But at the same time, you think, what in the world am I going to say that's short but meaningful to my daughter and her new husband at this service? And what I decided upon was that today there's 3 people at this stand, not 2. And there's Julia, my daughter, her new soon-to-be husband, Ryan, and there's their love. And what we're really here about is to celebrate the start of the 3 of these entities building their life together.
And I posted on my blog maybe 18 years ago when does the addition of 1 creates the addition of 9? And because when a child appears, if you do the math, you have a relationship with each of the 3, and you have a relationship with each one in the presence of the other. You do the math, you add the compound of 9 different relationships. All that is to do with recognizing the complexity and the multiplicity of combinations when a family come together. So fascinating. So let me ask you, but specifically about the blog. What was the inquiry that you initially set out to answer, and how did you go about blogging on a weekly basis?
Well, it's a very interesting and personal question. I've been keeping a personal journal, more of to keep track of my thoughts and to record important things that I've read, for 30 years. And the journal's, well over 1,000 handwritten pages, and I love to write. But I never shared my writing with anyone because I felt this is my personal journal, and I didn't even share it with my wife. And it was mine. And several years back, I play guitar, and I was playing guitar up at the lake here with a buddy of mine, and he was very, very talented. And I said, Doug, you really need to start writing songs. And he said, I can't. I go, what do you mean you can't? And he said, well, I tried, but I can't. It just doesn't come out. I said, that's ridiculous. I said, I want you from now on to write 1 song a week. And if it's not any good, don't play it for people. And if it's good, play it for people. Well, long story short, he recorded 2 CDs. And not too long after that point in time, he never played any covers anymore. He just played original music. And so shortly before he passed away, I was at his house for dinner, and he said, Tim, how's your writing going? I said, terrible. He goes, what do you mean terrible? I said, well, I read quite a bit, and I can recognize good writing from bad writing, and I would classify mine amongst the latter. And he said, well, who have you shared it with? I said, well, no one. And he goes, you're better at giving advice than you are taking it yourself. So I said, after he passed away of a cancer, and that just rolled around and around in my mind. I thought, wow, I haven't shared it with anyone. So right in the middle of the pandemic, I said, you know what? I'm going to publish a blog and figure out how to launch a website and all that happy stuff. And it's going to be about how we find joy in life. Because you know what? People like me try to shape their lives to create happiness. And at best, it's only partially successful, because I think the difference between joy and happiness is circumstantial and joy transcends circumstance. So my buddy Doug kind of goaded me into writing a blog, and it went from a few people to, I guess, a few hundred now. So it's become kind of my avocation.